Good afternoon and welcome. This is the pilot project of what we call Community Impact. This program is actually designed to assist communities, mainly youth groups, in how they go about creating impact projects. But before we jump right into understanding community impact, first we need to find out the meaning of a few words such as impact. Definition from what I've seen here on the internet. For one, it's a noun, and it says the action of one object coming into contact with another. Another definition comes down here and it says having a strong impact on someone or something. So let's say we have a bottle of water and we should fall it to the ground. The impression that you get and that impression of the container, that's what we would call impact. Seen in many organizations, across communities, and not just in Jamaica, but we have seen projects that groups or organizations have called impact projects. But our concern here at the Conrad Guthrie Foundation is how do you define a community impact? How do you know when lives has been impacted or the community at large? How do you determine that? What are the measures taken to ensure that the results are deemed to be called impact? If I take, for example, just the regular projects that I've been seeing in Jamaica, feeding program. A lot of feeding programs have been very active across the communities which people have called impact projects. Only where the people will actually, get together just to make sure that their country is with the force of all members who are available, and some of which these referred to as community impact. Now, in our definition, we rightly cannot agree with all the projects or the concept of the projects to say that they are in fact impact. Now, here's our likely suggestion of community impact. Take this scenario, it's a feeding program, and we should walk into, let's say, Halfway Tree in Kingston, and we notice that there's this homeless person who's always at a particular spot, and we decided that we're going to take on that person. First, we want to ensure that the person is stable enough to understand who we are, what we're going to do, and while they may not understand what may happen, but at least you're able to explain to them that one, they're going to be removed from the street. You're going to do a series of medical checkups to ensure that they are fine. Then you want to document those results. You know what? In any case, disease that the person has, any form of infection that whether it can be cured or not. You might not be able to determine how long the individual has such a case, but of course you might be able to find, some form of result through medication over a certain period of time. So you give that person, you provide some food, provide clothing, comfortable place to sleep. And over a certain period of time, you keep going back to that project to ensure that the person has been on the medication if being prescribed, the person is actually eating adequate food on time as being provided, and that they're showing, at least 3 times a day and is, looking way better than before. Now, let's say we decide the project to last for, let's say, a year. At the end of that year, when you do your assessment, what is the result compared to the project? The person tests, that infection or a disease that could have been cured? Yes, no. If it's no, then it's good news. Now, measure all these results from the beginning throughout the entire project. At the end of the project, what are the results? Based on measurement, as mentioned before, we want to place emphasis on your measurement because this determines the scope of work and the scope of funds needed. Here's where you can literally call your project an impact project because it has a level of uh, labor into that project. a certain amount of funding that needs to be pumped into the project, a certain amount of record keeping to ensure that the project was done carefully. And you would have what we call timeline, throughout the entire project to ensure that treated carefully, the individuals are roles and responsibilities, and it is being taken care of according to the framework that you have set. Well, here's an article I found online. I just wanted to read seconds. The topic is measure the impact of community development. And this is an article that was published on July 1st, 2011. And it's actually published by Ella Roach. Alright, it reads, community development practitioners want to be more effective. The funders want to of their investments. Policymakers want to demonstrate cost savings. And anyone wants to know, how did the community really benefit? The ability to measure results has come from increasingly important, reasons, for example, as seen here. In other words, there has to be a cause before you can have an impact project. Rather than just saying, well, we're going to feed some persons, we're going to go on the road, we're going to feed 500 individuals, and at the end of it, we all rejoice and say, hey, we impacted the community. We really cannot rejoice to say, hey, we have been impacted, because we haven't done any form of analysis to ensure that at the end, persons were greatly benefited from it, apart from being fed for a day or a few hours, right? Continuing, those of us in the community development field know our work is valuable, but how can we effectively measure its impact? How can we keep the cost and measurement system from getting out of hand? And how does our work affect the assets? Now, one thing that we always want to look at when we're doing a community-based project is that in recent time there's a trend where organizations has been partnering with other organizations to ensure that the project is not just done accordingly, but it is well recognized. And you might want to tap in on that same practice as well, in that once you have a project, talk to a few organizations, find out from them if they're interested in endorsing the project or they want to be a partner on the project. This will help other individuals gravitate more to the project. Not only will you have individuals get, but the organizations that you partner with will have inputs that are more or are equally valuable as yours. That will make it a more meaningful project. Now, we're not saying that all projects that you have done are done in vain and that they are useless. No, they are not. It's just that all projects, they just cannot be called an impact project. In place, if there is not a framework which you can use to guide the project and to assess the project to ensure that at the end of it, there are enough, there is enough results or information that you can use to create a reasonable doubt that persons have actually been impacted by the project. So the next time you decided to do a project, it's best you get professional, well-experienced persons on board to ensure that the project is not just a one-day project that will benefit a few persons now, and then within the next few months the person is right back to where they are. When you impact a community, they are likely to get back to where they were in terms of going back to the former state. An impact project should really seek lives, change the situation and somehow make it way better than it was. right? Now, here's another project that sometimes people might view as an impact project. During Labor Day in Jamaica, everybody, in the whole excitement of beautifying the country would come together and find to clean. And so everybody would grab whatever they can, machete, rakes, bags, whatever they can to clean a particular area. And they would refer to that as an impact community-based project. Really, what happens, the rainfall, fell over the next 3 days, what happens then? That area goes back to what it was before. Decided you're going to do that project. And on a weekly basis, the same set of people or some other person being assigned keeps going back and keeps going back, to ensure that the area is kept clean. That's one effort. But how about using that area, if useful and permission is given, to create something that can create some form of benefits to community members through opening or establishing another basic school, maybe a community-based business that can one maybe fund kids who belong to members of the group, or whatever it is, but something that keeps going on to support the community. And then, well, what do we mean by support community? We mean you're focusing on individuals of great need, the lives that you can change through all the ideas that you have that are generating one, either money, two, information that's needed, or three, any form of physical support. And to an extent, if so, permissible, you may want to focus a whole lot on support as well, providing counsel to those who may have had a death in the family or some form of, counseling sessions that can be very persons are not able to do, for at a professional level, right? Here's another point I wanted to from this website. It says here, if organizations don't measure their impact, they risk not being able to demonstrate the effectiveness of their program. They risk not being able to motivate the community by showing people what a difference their program really makes. Losing out on the opportunities to more human and financial capital to identify their strengths and weaknesses. Organization risk losing a great deal if they don't have good measurement. There are a few organizations which I would really recommend that you partner with. Commission, for example. You might have known them in this organization before, who has been very active in community-based organizations, being great support to the Police Youth Club movement over the years. And so they would have been most effective, most, hopeful and professional organization that you can partner with for your next project. Right. So I do hope that this information was useful and you can use it in your daily activities as a community-based organization. And hopefully you'll be able to view our next video and see if it's of good use to you. But just before you go, we would like for you to view our website, which is www.conradguthrie.org, which is CONRADGUTHRIE.org. Look at the projects that we have done before, and don't forget to sign up your free sales and marketing training, which lasts for 6 weeks. This training provides what we call a framework or a set of tools that you can use to implement meaningful projects. And don't forget to look for us on Facebook, which is Conrad Guthrie Foundation. Like us, share us, tell your friends about us, and have yourself a wonderful day.